Good morning, everybody. It is Friday, December 6th, about 5:30 a.m. Central Time as I speak. I have Brian Split with me this morning. This morning, we're going to talk about some news coming out of Russia. Russia's winter crops are in such poor condition that some will need to be replaced with spring crops. Russian analysts reported earlier this week that more than 37% of winter crops are in poor condition, a record high. Only 31% of the crops are in good condition, the lowest in 23 years. Russia's deputy prime minister said that the crops would partially need to be replaced by spring crops. However, he also said that the situation isn't critical. So we did see a bit of a rally in the wheat market yesterday, something we haven't seen in quite a while. Do you think the market is finally taking note of the poor crops in Russia and has found a bottom?
It's possible. We had just literally made new contract lows 2 days ago, right on Wednesday, and then yesterday we saw a day of buying, and the SRW, so like the March Chicago wheat, has worked itself up towards the downtrend that's been in place on the chart. So this is a pretty important area to see how concerned the market is about the wheat. We've seen a lot of previous rallies in wheat where it was more like the geopolitical concern about Russia, Ukraine, Black Sea goings on. And I think something like this has a higher likelihood of sticking, if you will, of actually forming a major low. I did read some reports of what some of the estimates are of the size of the crop, and they're pretty close to what they actually grew last year, because last year had some issues with the crop as well. So there really hasn't been a production concern in any of the grains, if you will, since we had the dryness concerns in Brazil that was several months ago. So we're due for a little bit of a, hey, what if this crop isn't very good? It's been a while since we've had that, and hopefully that helps bring other markets higher as well.
Definitely. Moving on to some news out of Brazil. Corteva plans to expand its share of the genetically modified soybean seed market in Brazil. The company expects its Enlist E3 seeds to acquire between 20 and 30% of the Brazilian market share by 2030. The genetically modified seeds have been available in Brazil for only a few seasons and currently represent a negligible share of the market. Corteva will face challenges expanding its market share, as many Brazilian soybean farmers already use similar technology from Bayer. Brazil's struggling ag economy may also hold some farmers back from utilizing the genetically modified seeds. Corteva seeds, they launched here in the U.S. back in 2019, and they now account for almost 2/3 of the market. So as more and more Brazilian farmers take advantage of this technology, if they do, what does that mean for the Brazilian soybean crop and also the soybean market?
Yeah, I'm not a seed expert, but if we here have 2/3 of our crop domestically is grown using this technology, and I just believe you when you say that. If that happens in Brazil, then I guess just my initial reaction was maybe the size of their crop gets bigger if they're using better seed technology. But like I said, I don't know if Corteva is any better than other seed and if it's going to increase the size of the crop or not. But that would just be my first initial reaction.
Right, definitely. And you have to wonder if Brazilian farmers will actually take advantage of it because it will be more expensive. And with their ag economy struggling, you're just not sure how that will play out.
Correct. And that's something where market share takes a while to capture. And maybe part of that capturing the market share is the overall ag economy improving at some point. It's a tough time to try and get market share with the way things are right now.
U.S. soybean export sales declined last week, but were near the upper end of pre-report expectations. Net soybean sales were reported at 85 million bushels. The print was down 7% versus the previous week, but up 17% from the prior 4-week average. China was the largest soybean buyer for the week. Net corn sales surpassed expectations at 68 million bushels. The print was up 63% from the previous week and up 4% from the prior 4-week average. Mexico was the largest corn buyer. Net wheat sales were reported at 14 million bushels. The print was up 3% from the previous week, but down 10% from the prior 4-week average. Mexico was the largest wheat buyer for the week. Exports were pretty strong across the board last week. Do you think exports will remain strong going into this new year?
They are very strong right now, and I just want to see like 1 million tons of corn every week, and we're blowing that out of the water. So our corn exports are phenomenal. Do I think they're going to maintain at this pace? No, I don't. I don't know when it starts to slow down, but I think we're going to get into 2025, and I don't know if it's going to be the change of the administration or what it is, but I just don't know that we're at a pace right now that's sustainable through the marketing year.
And that was going to be my next question. Do you think we're seeing some front loading of exports because of the possibility of trade war, possible stuff happening here in the next few months?
Entirely possible. I don't, the it just makes sense to try and get as much bought and shipped,
Hmm.
and take ownership of it prior to the potential even of a trade war. If I'm a foreign buyer, I just want to get it bought. I want to get it shipped in my hands.
Definitely. On to the drought. Portions of the Corn Belt received snowfall last week, and as a result, drought conditions improved in Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin. There were also slight improvements noted in northwest Minnesota and southeast Missouri. Drought conditions across the high plains were largely unchanged. However, snowfall did improve conditions in eastern North Dakota. When we look at the percentage of U.S. Areas experiencing drought, corn country 54%, soybeans 49%, winter wheat 29%, spring wheat 34%, and cattle country 40%. We have seen some condition in drought condition. We have seen some improvement in drought conditions across the Corn Belt in recent months. However, there's still quite a bit of dry conditions across the area. Do you think we're moving in the right direction when it comes to improvement, or is there still quite a bit of concern?
It's December, so I just generally am not going to be that concerned about drought, for our domestic production because we're going to be planting next spring, right? So a lot can
Mm-hmm.
change in between now and then. But whenever you have a very large portion of the growing region in drought conditions, that just raises the risk of something happening. I just don't think that trade's going to be trading that for quite some time. And when you think about like 2012, how that drought evolved, it was so like if you look at Texas right now, it's just not dry enough. There's that little pocket right there, to the southwest portion of the state that's very dry. But if you think about 2012, like the whole state of Texas was that dark, dark burgundy color. It was exceptional drought through almost the whole state. And so we really need to see that drought build in the south and get bigger, and then start to see it move north into the Midwest to really get concerned about that type of a drought.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I mean, there's a lot of growing regions that have dryness concerns. We've improved some of it. I just don't see this map being something that's going to make me super bullish right now.
Yeah, there's plenty of time for snowfall. Finally, USDA reported a flash sale of soybeans on Thursday. U.S. exporters sold 5 million bushels of soybeans to China for delivery during the current marketing year. These routine flash sales of soybeans to China have been fairly consistent. Do you think these will continue?
Yeah, I mean, two boatloads here and there. That's roughly what that total is. It's going to continue. They're just kind of bridging the gap, and they're going to continue to buy soybeans until the South American crop is available to be exported, and we're not very far from that. So yeah, I think you're going to see these smaller purchases, but I think the days of China coming in and buying, 500,000, 700,000 tons, in one big purchase, we probably are past that. That was a couple months ago. So I think we're going to continue to see these smaller sales, and then once Brazil's crop is available and ready to be exported, that's where we're going to see the majority of the business go for a while.
We saw more of a correction yesterday in the cattle markets. Live cattle were a buck 12 to $2 lower. Feeder cattle were 127 to 210 lower. As I just stated, we've seen a correction in the cattle market this week. What are your thoughts on cattle going forward?
Feeders have been the leaders, right? So essentially, we had a 1 month rally. We made a major low on November 1st, and then we made that reversal bar on December 2nd. So it's just 1 month of buying. And my sentiment earlier this week was that bar on Monday, it was a new high for the move, and then we had closed below the previous, what I think, 2 sessions lows. And I think the market, my sentiment was the market's going to go in the direction, at least for a little while, of whichever end of that big bar we take out. So if we were to take out the highs, I think we'd go racing, higher, but we didn't. We took out the lows of that day. We had a pretty negative close. So what I'm watching right now on the cattle is the feeders are going to be the ones that are leading it. And if the funds are going to be liquidating their long position, which they're pretty stinking long right now, rallies against the 10-day moving average are going to be what they decide to sell into. So if we see a quick bounce up to the 10-day moving average and they sell into that, that to me says that they're going to continue on the path of lightening up their long position.
Alrighty. Well, that is all we have for you guys this morning. Thank you for joining me, Brian. Everyone have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you on Monday.